I should have known. Should have known this was going to happen. Never should have mentioned I was going to cover this series. I couldn't even make it to the end of the first episode. Because the logical center of my brain was giving me such hell over what I was seeing. And I hate this shit because it always happens. People recommend me something, I see good reviews, and I think to myself, it's crap, you're not going to like it, it's popular because it's dopey. And then at some point I break down. I'll give it a shot. Well, I knew something was wrong with Westworld from the moment the opening credits started. Lots of desaturated close-up shots of robot parts doing stuff, and the Hans Zimmer sound-alike music starts. And then I see the producer credit, J.J. Abrams. And I'm like, God damn it. Here we go again. This is going to be over-serious, overwrought, visually overloaded, and underwritten and confusing. And after the first 2 scenes, I had this cold fear that this show was going to expect me to empathize with the robots, and that there would be no likable human characters. And what a surprise, that's exactly what I got. And that wasn't the biggest problem I had with the show, which I'll get to. I simply can't understand this trend in television shows, and I guess it comes from Game of Thrones, of having all of the characters be snarky or uptight or weird. As the viewer, who am I supposed to bond with? Who am I supposed to give a shit about? Apparently nobody. What is that? I don't know. Then you have this, 10-minute opening sequence that would have been a good standalone episode, where you have the person you think is a human and a person you think is the robot, and then, big shock, you find out it's the opposite. But they do it in 10 minutes. They go from, lighthearted Western dialogue-driven scene to creepy, rapey weirdness and murder in, 10 minutes. So, from the get-go, the pacing is fucked. There is no pacing. Instead, it's the throw everything at the wall approach. And I can't even pay attention to that because the logical contradictions of what they're presenting me are building up in my mind so fast. I'm like, wait a minute. Is Delos set in Monument Valley? Did they buy Monument Valley? Or did they spend the GDP of a small country and build a replica of Monument Valley? Why is this place so big? How could they afford any of this? And the elephant in the room, if this place is a resort, why would you be making robots this advanced that are cognizant and able to speculate on their environments and engage in random behavior? None of that makes any sense. None whatsoever. And the writers have to know this because I'm certain all of them have played a RPG by Bethesda or whoever. You can't have autonomous NPCs that think for themselves. A game would break down. The NPCs wouldn't be where they're supposed to be, which is being triggered by the actions of the player. I mean, there are scenes in this first episode where 2 robots are alone going through Western dialogue with one another when there's nobody there to see them doing it. Why? What's the point? I mean, that stuff might be interesting if the dialogue was at least well written, which it's not. Why would you even use Westworld as a platform to get into issues of robot consciousness anyway? It's an amusement park. It's the wrong setting for Philip K. Dick observations about artificial consciousness. If you had robots that advanced, you wouldn't have them working as NPCs in a resort. You would have them employed in the world. I was simply unable to suspend my disbelief thinking about this one point. If someone asked me, how would you do a television series of Westworld? I wouldn't show any of the park operations in the first episode. At least not until the end of the first hour. Since the resort is so big and complicated, each episode take the POV of one character and have the audience follow that person around for an hour and get to see little slices of the bigger picture. You could have several episodes where you would follow guests. You could then have episodes where you follow technicians. You could then have episodes from the corporate point of view. And finally, when you're getting ready to wrap things up, you could maybe do an episode or two from the point of view of the robots. Start from a narrow focus showing the normal operation of the park. And by the end, when the shit hits the fan, then you really show the underlevel of this place and the technicians and how fucked up everything actually is. Same as Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park was just Westworld 2.0 for Michael Crichton. Build up the wonder in the audience's mind and then pull the rug out from under them by the end. Instead of this crazy haphazard approach where you just throw everything at the audience at once, I could not understand the point of anything I was seeing or what I was supposed to care about. The only thing I could tell is that the Ed Harris character was probably one of the original designers of the park who was like bought out or cut loose, and now he's come back to take his revenge or something, to be a foil for Anthony Hopkins. I don't think Westworld from 1973 is a great film or anything. It's actually a pretty clunky film that has some flashes of brilliance in it and a fantastic tiny little performance by Yul Brynner that kind of holds the whole thing together. This show, though, I don't know. I guess this is a take on Westworld, but it's nothing I can sit through.